She accepted a drink from his biggest rival right in front of him. What happened next shocked everyone in the room. This is the story of Logan Storm, the rock star who thought he'd seen it all, until one woman made him question everything he thought he knew about love and loyalty. Before we dive in, help us reach 500 subscribers and let us know in the comments where you're listening from. Now, let's begin. The bass thrummed through the floor of the Viper Room like a living heartbeat, shaking the walls of the legendary Los Angeles venue. Chloe Bennett pressed herself against the bar, her emerald eyes scanning the crowd that pulsed and swayed to the opening band's sound check. The air tasted like spilled beer, expensive perfume, and possibility. She shouldn't be here. Her shift at the art gallery ended 2 hours ago, and she had an early meeting with a potential client tomorrow morning. But when her best friend Maya had waved those backstage passes in her face, all thoughts of responsibility evaporated like morning fog in the California sun. "2 whiskey sours," Maya shouted over the music, her voice barely audible. She nudged Chloe with her elbow, a wicked grin spreading across her face. "Can you believe we're actually going to meet Crimson Chaos tonight? Logan Storm in the flesh." Chloe rolled her eyes, but couldn't suppress her own smile. Logan Storm. The name alone sent a thrill through the music world. Lead singer of Crimson Chaos, tattooed bad boy with a voice that could make angels weep and devils dance. His face had graced every rock magazine cover for the past 3 years, and his reputation for breaking hearts was as legendary as his guitar solos. "He's probably an arrogant ass," Chloe said, accepting her drink from the bartender. The whiskey burned pleasantly down her throat. They all are at that level. "Who cares? Have you seen those arms? Those tattoos?" Maya fanned herself dramatically. "I'd let him be arrogant all over me." Chloe laughed, the sound lost in the rising volume as the opening band launched into their final song. The crowd roared, bodies pressing closer to the stage. She felt the energy shift, anticipation crackling through the air like static electricity before a storm. Then the lights went dark. A single spotlight pierced the darkness, illuminating center stage. Smoke curled upward, and the opening notes of Razor's Edge, Crimson Chaos's biggest hit, exploded through the speakers. The crowd went absolutely feral. And then he appeared. Logan Storm walked onto that stage, like he owned not just the venue, but the entire city. He was tall, easily 6'2", with broad shoulders that stretched the fabric of his vintage Metallica shirt. Black jeans hung low on his hips, held up by a studded belt. Tattoos covered both arms in intricate sleeves, dark ink swirling in patterns that told stories Chloe couldn't read from this distance. His dark hair fell just past his collar, slightly messy in that way that probably took him 30 seconds and looked effortlessly perfect. But it was his face that stopped her breath. Sharp jawline covered in carefully maintained stubble, full lips that curved into a dangerous smile, and eyes so intensely blue they seemed to glow even from across the room. He grabbed the microphone like a lifeline, like a weapon, and when he opened his mouth to sing, Chloe felt the sound vibrate in her chest. "Holy hell," Maya breathed beside her. "That man is illegal." Chloe couldn't argue. She'd seen attractive men before. Los Angeles was full of them. Pretty boys trying to make it in Hollywood. Models and actors who spent more time at the gym than anywhere else. But Logan Storm was different. There was something raw about him, something untamed. He moved across that stage with the confidence of a man who had never doubted himself for a single second, who knew exactly what effect he had on people and wielded that power like a sword. 3 songs in, Chloe realized she hadn't moved. She stood transfixed, her drink growing warm in her hand, watching Logan command the stage. His voice was incredible, rough and smooth at the same time, hitting notes that shouldn't be humanly possible. When he played his guitar, his fingers moved across the strings with the kind of precision that made her wonder what else those hands could do. She shook her head, trying to clear it. This was ridiculous. She didn't get starstruck. She'd worked in the Los Angeles art scene for 5 years, had met celebrities and wealthy collectors who could buy and sell entire neighborhoods. She prided herself on her professionalism, her ability to see past the surface. But Logan Storm made her feel like a teenager again, all nervous energy and inappropriate thoughts. "Backstage after this song," Maya said, grabbing her arm. "The pass gets us in right after the set." The concert flew by in a blur of sound and sensation. Logan Storm owned that stage, owned that crowd, commanded attention with every movement. During the final song, he stripped off his shirt, revealing a torso that looked carved from marble, covered in more intricate tattoos. The crowd lost their minds. Chloe tried very hard not to stare at the way his muscles flexed as he played, at the sheen of sweat that made his skin gleam under the stage lights. When the lights came up, Maya practically dragged her toward the backstage entrance. Security checked their passes, and suddenly they were in a different world. The backstage area buzzed with activity, roadies moving equipment, band members from the opening act celebrating their performance, groupies in barely their outfits positioning themselves strategically near doors that might lead to the main attraction. "This is insane," Chloe muttered, suddenly very aware of her simple black dress and leather jacket. She'd dressed for a night out, not for competing with women who looked like they'd stepped off a runway. "You look gorgeous," Maya assured her. "Come on, there's the green room." The green room door stood open, music and laughter spilling out. Maya walked in like she belonged there, and Chloe followed, trying to project confidence she didn't quite feel. The room was surprisingly normal. A beat-up leather couch, folding chairs, a table loaded with alcohol and snacks. Band members sprawled across various surfaces, still riding the high of performance. And there, in the corner, holding court like a king on his throne, sat Logan Storm. He'd put his shirt back on, a black Guns N' Roses tee that clung to his frame. A beer dangled from his fingers, and he was laughing at something the drummer said. Up close, he was even more striking. Those blue eyes crinkled at the corners when he smiled, and Chloe could see the small scar above his left eyebrow, the slight crook in his nose that suggested it had been broken, at least once. "Maya?" A voice called out, and suddenly they were being waved over by one of the guitarists, a guy Maya apparently knew from college. As they walked deeper into the room, Logan's eyes shifted, found her, held. Chloe felt that gaze like a physical touch, trailing over her face, down her body, back up to meet her eyes. His expression shifted slightly, the easy smile fading into something more intense, more interested. He said something to the person next to him and stood, moving with that same predatory grace he'd shown on stage. "Well, well," he said, his voice even better up close, rough honey with a hint of gravel. "I definitely would have noticed you in the crowd." Before Chloe could respond, before she could even process the fact that Logan Storm was talking to her, another man appeared at her elbow. "Can I get you a drink?" He was handsome in a slick way, all styled hair and expensive cologne. Definitely not part of the band, probably some music executive or producer. "You look like you could use something stronger than whatever you're holding." He held out a glass of champagne, expensive stuff based on the label of the bottle nearby. Chloe opened her mouth to politely decline. She wasn't really thirsty, but the man pressed the glass into her hand with a smile that was just a shade too confident. "To new friends," he said, raising his own glass. She barely had time to lift the champagne to her lips when Logan Storm was suddenly there, his hand closing over hers, stopping the glass inches from her mouth. "She's not interested," Logan said, his voice dropping to something dangerous. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. The other man, who Chloe now recognized as Marcus Webb, drummer for a rival band and notorious for his feuds with Logan, smiled slowly. Why don't you let the lady decide that for herself, Storm? Logan's jaw clenched, and in one smooth motion, he plucked the champagne glass from Chloe's hand and set it firmly on the nearest table. There, he said, his eyes never leaving Marcus. She's decided. The tension crackled between the two men like lightning about to strike. Everyone in the room had gone quiet, watching, waiting. Chloe stood frozen between them, acutely aware of Logan's proximity, of the way his body seemed to vibrate with barely contained energy. Marcus laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. Still can't stand competition, can you, Logan, even when it comes to women who don't belong to you? She doesn't belong to anyone, Logan shot back, finally turning his full attention to Chloe. Those blue eyes burned into hers, and she forgot how to breathe. But she sure as hell isn't drinking anything from you. I can make my own decisions, Chloe heard herself say, finding her voice somewhere beneath the shock. I don't need either of you acting like I'm some prize to be won. Logan's expression shifted, something like respect flickering across his features. The corner of his mouth twitched upward, that dangerous smile returning. You're absolutely right, he said, his voice dropping lower, more intimate, meant just for her. I apologize, but I stand by my action. Marcus Webb is a snake, and I wouldn't trust anything he offers. And what makes you any different? Chloe challenged, lifting her chin. Her heart hammered in her chest, but she refused to be intimidated. Not by Rockstars, not by their egos, not by the way Logan Storm was looking at her like she was the most fascinating thing he'd seen all night. His smile widened, genuine amusement lighting those incredible eyes. I never claimed to be different, beautiful. But at least I'm honest about what I am. Marcus made a disgusted sound and walked away, throwing one last glare over his shoulder. The moment he left, the tension in the room eased. Conversations resumed. Music started playing from someone's phone. But Logan Storm didn't move. He stood there, close enough that Chloe could smell his cologne, something dark and woodsy that probably cost more than her rent. Close enough that she could see the flecks of darker blue in his irises, could count the small freckles on his neck just above his collar. So, he said, leaning one shoulder against the wall, creating a small pocket of privacy in the crowded room. Are you going to tell me your name? Or am I going to have to spend the rest of the night calling you beautiful, which, while accurate, seems a little impersonal? Despite herself, Chloe laughed. That line actually works for you. I don't know, Logan said, and there was something genuine in his expression now, something vulnerable beneath all that swagger. You tell me, is it working? Chloe looked at him, really looked at him, past the tattoos and the perfect bone structure and the reputation. Saw the slight uncertainty in his eyes, the way he was actually waiting for her answer, like it mattered. Chloe, she said finally. My name is Chloe Bennett. Logan Storm smiled, a real smile this time, and held out his hand. Logan, but I think you already knew that. When their hands touched, Chloe felt electricity shoot up her arm. Logan's palm was calloused from guitar strings, his grip firm but gentle. He held on just a second longer than necessary, his thumb brushing across her knuckles in a gesture that felt almost tender. So, Chloe Bennett, he said, still holding her hand, what brings you backstage at a Crimson Chaos concert, besides your friend who's currently making out with my guitarist in the corner? Chloe glanced over to see that Maya had indeed found her way to the guy she knew, and they were deeply engaged in a conversation that looked like it might lead somewhere interesting. She had passes, Chloe admitted, and I'm apparently very susceptible to peer pressure. Lucky for me, Logan said. He finally released her hand, but immediately took a half-step closer, filling her space in a way that should have felt invasive, but somehow didn't. Can I be honest with you? Chloe, I thought you said you were always honest. His laugh was low and genuine. Fair point. Here's the truth. I saw you in the crowd during the third song. You were the only person not screaming or waving their arms. You were just standing there, watching, and I couldn't take my eyes off you. I almost missed my cue for the chorus." Chloe's breath caught. "I don't believe you." "It's true. There's Tommy, my drummer. He had to count me back in." Logan's expression turned serious. "Then you walked in here, and Marcus made his move before I could, and I saw red. I'm not proud of the caveman routine, but I'm also not sorry. Do you know what he's famous for besides drumming?" "No. Spiking drinks, taking advantage of women who can't consent, being a general waste of oxygen." Logan's voice hardened. "So yeah, maybe I overstepped, but I'd do it again in a heartbeat." Chloe studied his face, looking for signs of deception, of manipulation. But all she saw was sincerity, and beneath that, barely banked heat that made her skin flush. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for the warning and for the protection, even if your delivery needs work." "I'll work on my delivery," Logan promised, "but only if you let me practice, maybe over dinner tomorrow night." "That's very presumptuous. I know it's a terrible quality," he grinned, unrepentant. "But in my defense, I don't meet women like you very often, women who call me out on my bullshit and don't seem impressed by any of this." He gestured vaguely at himself, at the room, at everything his fame represented. "Who says I'm not impressed? Are you?" Chloe considered lying, playing it cool, but something about Logan Storm made her want to be honest, to match his directness with her own. "A little," she admitted. "Your voice is incredible. And you were right about one thing. You are honest about what you are." "And what am I, Chloe Bennett?" "Dangerous," she said softly. Logan's eyes darkened, and he moved even closer until they were almost touching. "Only to people who deserve it. To you, I'd be nothing but careful." The air between them felt charged, heavy with possibility. Chloe knew she should step back, should protect herself from the inevitable heartbreak that came with men like Logan Storm. But she couldn't make herself move away from the heat of him, from the intensity of his focus. "Dinner," she heard herself say. "Tomorrow night, but somewhere normal, not some exclusive restaurant where everyone will stare at us." Logan's face lit up like she'd given him the keys to the kingdom. "I know a place. Best burger in LA, totally low-key. Give me your number?" As Chloe recited her number and watched Logan program it into his phone, she caught Maya's eye across the room. Her friend gave her an exaggerated thumbs up and a grin that suggested Chloe was in for significant interrogation later. "Got it," Logan said, showing her the screen where her name now resided with a little star emoji next to it. "I'll text you the details tomorrow morning. Not too early. Define too early. Before 10, he laughed. "Look at you, setting boundaries already. I like it. Okay, no texts before 10, but I make no promises about 9:59. Someone called Logan's name, something about a radio interview he needed to do. He grimaced, but didn't immediately leave. "I should let you go," Chloe said, even though part of her wanted to keep him there, wanted to keep talking to this surprisingly layered man who was nothing like she'd expected. "I really don't want to," Logan admitted. "But duty calls. Tomorrow, Chloe. Don't stand me up. I won't, if you won't. Trust me, beautiful. Wild horses couldn't keep me away." He squeezed her hand one more time, then walked away to handle whatever crisis awaited. But he looked back 3 times before he left the room, and each time he was smiling. Maya appeared at Chloe's side, practically vibrating with excitement. "Oh my God, tell me everything. Did Logan Storm just ask you out? Did that actually happen?" "I think so," Chloe said, still feeling dazed. "Yeah, he did. This is insane. This is the most insane thing that's ever happened. You have a date with Logan Storm." The Logan Storm. As they left the venue an hour later, walking out into the cool Los Angeles night, Chloe caught sight of Logan through a window. He was doing his interview, all professional charm and practiced answers. But when he spotted her, He winked, that dangerous smile playing at his lips. Chloe smiled back and followed Maya to the car, her mind already racing ahead to tomorrow night, to dinner with a rock star, to the possibility of something she couldn't quite name but could definitely feel building in her chest, something that felt like the beginning of a story she'd never expected to live. The morning sun streamed through Chloe's bedroom window, far too bright and far too early, despite the fact that it was already 10:30. She'd barely slept, her mind replaying every moment of the previous night on an endless loop. The way Logan had looked at her, the way his hand had felt in hers, the way he'd intercepted that drink from Marcus Webb with the kind of possessive intensity that should have annoyed her, but instead made her stomach flip. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, exactly 10 on the dot. Logan: "Good morning, beautiful. Hope you got some sleep, because I sure didn't. Can't stop thinking about tonight. Pick you up at 7? Chloe stared at the message, a smile tugging at her lips despite her best efforts to remain cool and collected. "Chloe, you're very punctual for a rock star. 7 works. Address? Logan. Check your messages. Already sent it over. And I'm punctual about things that matter." She ignored the flutter in her chest at that statement and found the address he'd sent. It was indeed a burger place, tucked away in a neighborhood most tourists never saw. Reviews called it a hidden gem, the kind of place locals protected fiercely from the Instagram crowd. The day crawled by with agonizing slowness. Chloe tried to work, responding to emails and sketching ideas for a new gallery installation, but her concentration was shot. By 6 o'clock, she'd changed outfits 4 times and was seriously considering calling Maya for backup. She finally settled on dark jeans that hugged her curves, a silk camisole in deep burgundy, and her favorite leather jacket. Casual but put together, the kind of outfit that said she'd made an effort without trying too hard. At 6:55, her phone buzzed again. "Logan, I'm outside. Take your time. I'm enjoying the view of your building." Chloe grabbed her purse and headed downstairs, her heart hammering in a way that felt completely ridiculous. She was 28 years old, not some teenager on her first date. But when she pushed through the lobby doors and saw Logan leaning against a sleek black motorcycle, all rational thought evaporated. He'd clearly put effort into his appearance too. Dark jeans and boots, a fitted black Henley that showed off his tattooed forearms, a leather jacket that probably cost more than her monthly salary. His hair was slightly damp, like he'd just showered, and when he smiled at her, Chloe felt her knees go weak. "Hi," he said, pushing off from the bike with that easy grace. "You look stunning." "You look like you're trying to get me killed," Chloe replied, eyeing the motorcycle. "Please tell me we're not taking that thing." Logan laughed, the sound rich and warm in the evening air. "Scared?" "Cautious. There's a difference." "Fair enough." He walked over to a nearby parking spot, where a vintage black Mustang sat gleaming under the streetlight. "Backup plan. I figured you might not be a bike person." "You brought 2 vehicles?" "The bike is mine. The car belongs to my brother. He lives 2 blocks from here and owed me a favor." Logan opened the passenger door with exaggerated chivalry. "Your chariot awaits, my lady." Chloe slid into the leather seat, breathing in the scent of old car and Logan's cologne. He walked around and got in the driver's side, the car dipping slightly under his weight. "So your brother lives in my neighborhood?" Chloe asked as Logan started the engine. It purred to life with a satisfying rumble. "Yeah, he's the responsible one. Lawyer, nice apartment, no tattoos." Logan grinned. "My parents love him." "And they don't love you?" "They love me. They just don't understand me." He pulled smoothly into traffic. "Mom wanted me to go to college. Dad wanted me to take over the family business. I wanted to play guitar and scream into microphones for a living. We agreed to disagree." Chloe watched his profile as he drove. the way the passing lights played across his features. Do you regret it? Not even a little bit. Music is the only thing I've ever been good at, the only thing that makes sense. He glanced at her, blue eyes intense even in the dim light. What about you, Chloe Bennett? What's your story? I'm nowhere near as interesting as you are. I highly doubt that. Come on, give me something. What do you do when you're not going to concerts and calling rock stars on their bullshit? She smiled. I work at an art gallery, contemporary pieces mostly. I help curate shows and work with artists to present their vision. That's incredible. So you're creative? Not really. I can't paint or draw to save my life, but I can look at a piece and understand what the artist is trying to say. I can help them communicate that to the world. Logan nodded slowly, like he was filing this information away. That's a different kind of creativity, just as important. They pulled up to the burger joint, which looked exactly as advertised, a small, unassuming building with neon signs and a handful of outdoor tables. Logan parked and came around to open her door before she could do it herself. Chivalry isn't dead, she observed, not when it counts. He placed his hand on the small of her back as they walked toward the entrance, the touch burning through the thin fabric of her shirt. Inside, the place was perfect. Vinyl booths, a jukebox in the corner playing old rock songs, and the smell of grilling meat that made Chloe's stomach growl. A few people glanced their way, recognition flickering across some faces, but Logan had clearly chosen well. This wasn't the kind of place where celebrities got mobbed. They slid into a corner booth, and Logan immediately grabbed 2 menus, handing one to Chloe. Everything here is amazing, but the bacon cheeseburger is life-changing. Bold claim. I stand by it. I've been coming here since before the band took off. This place knows me as the guy who used to bus tables at the diner down the street, not as Logan Storm, Rockstar. He said the last part with a self-deprecating grin. A waitress approached, middle-aged and friendly, treating Logan like any other customer. They ordered burgers, fries, and milkshakes, and Chloe found herself relaxing into the comfortable atmosphere. So tell me, Logan said, leaning forward with his arms on the table, what made you say yes to dinner with me? And don't say it was my charming personality, because we both know I didn't exactly make the best first impression. Chloe considered the question, wrapping her hands around her water glass. Honestly, curiosity. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? An arrogant ass like I told my friend. Someone who thought the world revolved around him. Someone who saw women as conquests. And now? Jury's still out, she said, but she was smiling. Though points for the motorcycle backup plan and for bringing me somewhere real instead of trying to impress me with expensive restaurants. I can do expensive restaurants, Logan said. I've got reservations at half the best places in LA, but this felt more honest. And I wanted to be honest with you, Chloe. From the start. Before she could respond, their food arrived. The burgers were massive, perfectly cooked, and exactly as life-changing as Logan had promised. They ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes, the kind of easy quiet that usually only came after knowing someone for much longer. Can I ask you something? Chloe said, stealing one of his fries. Help yourself to my food and ask me anything. That seems fair. He was grinning, watching her with amusement. The thing with Marcus last night. You said he's dangerous. Have you known him long? Logan's expression darkened slightly. Too long. We came up in the scene together before either of us made it big. He was always a piece of work. But success made him worse, more entitled, more reckless. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I've seen him hurt people, women specifically, and nobody calls him on it because he's talented and connected. But you did. I try to, when I can, when I see it happening. He met her eyes steadily. I know I probably looked like a jealous asshole last night, but I swear that wasn't it. If it had been any other guy offering you a drink, I would have approached differently. But Marcus, I wasn't taking any chances. Chloe felt something shift in her chest, warmth spreading through her that had nothing to do with the food. Thank you for telling me, and for looking out for me, even if we just met. You're worth looking out for, Logan said simply. They talked for hours after that, conversation flowing effortlessly from topic to topic. Logan told her about life on tour, the highs and lows of fame, the way music had saved him from a pretty dark path when he was younger. Chloe shared stories about the art world, about growing up in Seattle before moving to LA, about her dreams of eventually opening her own gallery. It was after 10 when they finally left the restaurant, both reluctant to end the evening. Logan drove slower on the way back, like he was trying to make the journey last longer. I had a really great time tonight, Chloe said as they pulled up to her building. Yeah? Logan turned off the engine and shifted to face her. Great enough for a second date? Maybe, if you can top bacon cheeseburgers and honest conversation. Challenge accepted. He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. His fingers lingered on her cheek, and Chloe felt her breath catch. Can I kiss you, Chloe? The fact that he asked, that he waited for her answer instead of just taking what he wanted, made her decision easy. Yes. Logan leaned across the console, his hand cupping her face as his lips met hers. The kiss was soft at first, gentle, like he was savoring the moment. But when Chloe's hands found their way to his shoulders, when she pressed closer, Logan deepened the kiss with a low sound that vibrated through both of them. He tasted like chocolate milkshake and possibility. His lips were soft but demanding, his tongue tracing the seam of her mouth until she opened for him. One hand tangled in her hair while the other gripped her hip, pulling her as close as the car's interior would allow. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Logan rested his forehead against hers. I want to see you again. Soon. Tomorrow? I have work tomorrow. Dinner after work, or lunch, or breakfast. I'm very flexible when it comes to meals with you. Chloe laughed breathlessly. Dinner tomorrow night. It's a date. He kissed her again, quick and hard, then forced himself to pull back. I should let you go before I forget how to behave like a gentleman. Who says I want you to behave? The words slipped out before Chloe could stop them, and Logan's eyes went dark with heat. Don't say things like that, beautiful. Not unless you mean them. What if I mean them? Logan's jaw clenched, his hands tightening on the steering wheel like he was physically restraining himself. Then I'd say we should probably take this slow. Because if I come upstairs with you right now, slow is the last thing I'm going to be. The honesty of the statement, the raw want in his voice, made Chloe's entire body flush with heat, but he was right. This thing between them, whatever it was, felt too important to rush. Slow, she agreed, even though her body was screaming the opposite. Tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, Logan confirmed. He got out and walked her to her building entrance, keeping his hands carefully in his pockets, like he didn't trust himself to touch her again. Text me when you get upstairs. That's very sweet and overprotective. I'm a man of contradictions. He grinned, then kissed her forehead. Good night, Chloe Bennett. Good night, Logan Storm. Chloe made it to her apartment in a daze, texting him as promised. His response was immediate. Logan, already counting the hours until I see you again. Sleep well, beautiful. She fell asleep with a smile on her face and dreamed of blue eyes and dangerous smiles. The next day at work was torture. Chloe couldn't focus on anything, her mind constantly drifting to Logan. The way he'd kissed her, the way he'd looked at her like she was the only person in the world who mattered, the way he'd respected her boundaries even when they both wanted something more. Her phone buzzed throughout the day with messages from him. Nothing overly sexual or demanding, just sweet check-ins and funny observations about his day. He was in the studio working on new material, and he sent her a short audio clip of a melody he was playing with. Logan, think this could work for the new album, or is it too sappy? Chloe listened to the haunting guitar riff, surprised by its gentleness. Everything she'd heard from Crimson Chaos was hard-driving rock, but this was different, softer, more vulnerable. Chloe, it's beautiful. Different from your usual style, but in a good way. Logan, you inspire me to try new things. They made plans to meet at a small Italian restaurant near the gallery. Chloe left work at exactly 6, her stomach fluttering with anticipation. But when she stepped outside, she froze. Logan was there, leaning against his motorcycle, looking like every fantasy she'd ever had. But he wasn't alone. Marcus Webb stood a few feet away, arms crossed, his expression ugly. "There she is," Marcus called out, his voice carrying across the parking lot. "Logan's new toy. Tell me, sweetheart, did he mention that he does this with every girl who catches his eye? The whole sensitive artist routine?" Logan's posture went rigid, his hands clenching into fists. "Walk away, Marcus. Right now." "Why should I? We're all friends here." Marcus turned to Chloe with a smile that made her skin crawl. "Did he tell you about the last girl? The one who thought he was serious? Or the one before that? Logan Storm doesn't do relationships, honey. He does conquests." "You don't know what you're talking about," Logan said, his voice dangerously low. "Don't I?" Marcus pulled out his phone, swiping through what looked like photographs. "Should I show her the pictures from last month? The blonde? Or maybe the brunette from the tour?" Chloe felt her stomach drop, uncertainty creeping in. She looked at Logan, searching his face for truth. "Those pictures are from before I met you," Logan said immediately, his eyes locked on hers. "And they're not what they look like. Marcus knows exactly what he's doing, and he's lying through his teeth." "Am I?" Marcus stepped closer. "Or am I the only one being honest? You think you're special, Chloe. You're just another pretty face to him, another notch on his belt." "Shut your mouth," Logan snarled, taking a step toward Marcus. "Or what? You'll hit me? Go ahead. Let her see what you're really like when things don't go your way." Chloe watched the scene unfold, her mind racing. She didn't know what to believe, who to trust. Logan looked furious but also desperate, like he was watching something precious slip through his fingers. Marcus looked smug, satisfied that he'd planted seeds of doubt. "I think I should go," Chloe heard herself say. "No." Logan turned to her immediately. "Chloe, please, let me explain. Let me tell you the truth, not his twisted version of it." "The truth?" She wrapped her arms around herself. "I don't even know what that is right now." "Then let me show you." Logan took a step toward her, hands raised like he was approaching a frightened animal. "Give me a chance, please." Marcus laughed, the sound harsh in the evening air. "She's smarter than the others, Storm. She can see through your act." Something in Logan snapped. He spun toward Marcus with such speed that Chloe gasped. "I swear to God, if you don't leave right now, I'm going to do something we'll both regret." "Bring it on," Marcus taunted. But Logan surprised them both. Instead of throwing a punch, instead of giving Marcus the satisfaction of seeing him lose control, Logan turned his back on him completely. "You're not worth it," Logan said coldly. "You've never been worth it. The only reason you're here right now is because you can't stand seeing someone else happy, because you're a miserable excuse for a human being who gets off on hurting people." He walked past Marcus without another glance and stopped in front of Chloe. Up close, she could see the raw emotion in his eyes, the fear and frustration, and something that looked almost like pain. "I have pictures on my phone from my past," Logan said quietly. "Lots of them. I've dated women, I've made mistakes, I've been with people I shouldn't have been with. But none of that, not one single second of it, matters compared to what I feel when I'm with you." "How can I believe that?" Chloe whispered. "We just met." "You can't. Not yet." Logan's voice cracked slightly. "All I can do is ask you to give me the chance to prove it. to show you that this is different, that you're different." Behind them, Marcus made a disgusted sound and walked away, apparently bored, now that his drama hadn't resulted in a fight. Chloe stood there, torn between what her head was telling her, the logical warnings about rock stars and their reputations, and what her heart was feeling, the connection that had felt so real and right from the moment they met. "One more chance," she said finally. "But Logan, I need honesty. Complete honesty. If there's something I should know, if there's anything that's going to come back and blindside me, tell me now." "I've been with other women," Logan said immediately. "Before you, more than I probably should have been. I've made headlines for the wrong reasons. I have an ex-girlfriend who occasionally sells stories to tabloids. I'm not perfect, Chloe, not even close. But I've never felt about anyone the way I feel about you, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to prove that." Chloe studied his face, looking for any hint of deception. All she saw was raw, painful honesty. "Okay," she said softly. "Okay, let's try this." The relief that washed over Logan's features was almost overwhelming. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tight against his chest. "Thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance. I promise I won't waste it." As Chloe stood there in Logan Storm's embrace, breathing in his scent and feeling his heart race against her ear, she hoped desperately that she was making the right choice, because falling for someone like Logan felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, exhilarating and terrifying all at once, and she was about to jump. The Italian restaurant was warm and intimate, with candles flickering on every table and the smell of garlic and fresh bread filling the air. Logan had reserved a corner booth, private enough for real conversation, but not so isolated that it felt presumptuous. He'd clearly put thought into every detail, and Chloe felt herself relaxing as they settled in. "I'm glad you came," Logan said, reaching across the table to take her hand. "After Marcus pulled that stunt, I wasn't sure you would." "I almost didn't," Chloe admitted. "But then I realized I'd regret it if I let him win, if I let someone else's manipulation dictate my decisions. He's good at manipulation. It's basically his superpower, right after being a terrible human being." Logan's thumb traced circles on her palm, the gesture both soothing and electrifying. "For what it's worth, I meant every word I said out there. My past is messy, but this is different." They ordered wine and pasta, falling back into the easy rhythm of conversation that had characterized their first date. But now there was a new layer, a rawness born from the confrontation with Marcus. They talked about harder things. Logan's struggles with fame, the pressure to maintain an image, the loneliness that came with being constantly in the public eye. "People think it's glamorous," Logan said, twirling linguine around his fork. "And sometimes it is. But most of the time, it's exhausting. Everyone wants something from you. Everyone has an opinion about who you should be. You start to lose track of who you actually are underneath all the expectations." "Is that what happened with those other women?" Chloe asked gently. "You were trying to figure out who you were?" Logan set down his fork, giving her his full attention. "Partly, but mostly I was just lonely and making bad choices about how to deal with it. I'd hook up with someone after a show, convince myself it meant something, then wake up the next morning and realize we had nothing in common except physical attraction. It got old fast." "When did you stop?" "About 3 months ago. I just got tired of the emptiness, decided to focus on the music instead, on creating something that mattered instead of chasing temporary highs." He squeezed her hand. "And then I saw you in that crowd, and everything shifted." Chloe wanted to believe him. Every instinct told her he was being genuine, that this wasn't some practiced line. But the doubt Marcus had planted lingered like smoke. "What are you thinking?" Logan asked, reading her expression. "I'm thinking that I want to trust you," Chloe said honestly. "But I'm scared, because this is moving fast and you're you, and I'm just me. You're not just anything. Logan's voice was fierce. You're smart and beautiful and talented. You see through people's bullshit, including mine. You make me want to be better, to be worthy of the way you look at me. Before Chloe could respond, her phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it and felt her blood run cold. The message was from an unknown number, but the content was clear. A photograph of Logan leaving a hotel room 3 weeks ago, a blonde woman visible behind him in the doorway. Unknown. Thought you should know who you're really dating. He doesn't change. He just gets better at hiding it. Logan noticed her expression and leaned forward. What's wrong? Wordlessly, Chloe turned her phone so he could see the message. She watched his face carefully, looking for guilt or panic. Instead, she saw recognition followed by anger. That's Marcus, Logan said immediately. It has to be. And that photo is taken completely out of context. Then provide the context. Chloe kept her voice steady, even though her heart was racing. Logan pulled out his own phone, scrolling quickly through his photos. That hotel was where we were staying during the Vegas leg of the tour. The woman is Sarah Mitchell. She's our tour manager. I was leaving a meeting about merch sales. He found what he was looking for and showed her his phone. A group photo from the same day, showing Logan, Sarah, and 3 other band members in what was clearly a business setting. Chloe looked between the 2 images, seeing how Marcus had carefully cropped the photo to make it look intimate and suspicious. The relief was immediate and overwhelming. He's going to keep doing this, isn't he? She said quietly. He's going to keep trying to sabotage whatever we have. Probably. Logan's jaw was tight with fury. He's obsessed with making me miserable. Has been for years. Why? What happened between you two? Logan was quiet for a long moment, clearly debating how much to share. Finally, he sighed and leaned back in the booth. 4 years ago, before either of us had made it big, there was a girl, Emma. She was dating Marcus, but he treated her like garbage. Cheated on her constantly, put her down, isolated her from her friends. One night, she showed up at one of my gigs covered in bruises, said Marcus had gotten rough with her during an argument. Chloe's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God! I took her to the hospital, helped her file a police report, let her stay at my apartment until she could find somewhere safe. Marcus found out and convinced himself that I'd stolen her from him, that I wanted her for myself. He's hated me ever since. Did you? Want her, I mean. No. I helped her because it was the right thing to do, because nobody deserves to be treated like that. Emma got a restraining order and moved to New York. Last I heard, she's married with 2 kids and very happy. But Marcus can't let it go. He sees me as the reason his reputation took a hit, the reason some people in the industry won't work with him. Chloe processed this information, pieces clicking into place. Marcus's vendetta wasn't about her at all. She was just the latest weapon in a much older war. I'm not going to let him win, she said firmly. I'm not going to let him poison what we're building. Logan's expression softened, hope flickering in those blue eyes. Yeah? Yeah. But I need you to promise me something. Anything. If something happens, if there's drama or trouble or anything I should know about, you tell me immediately. Don't let me find out from someone else. Don't try to protect me by keeping secrets. I promise. Logan brought her hand to his lips, kissing her knuckles gently. Complete transparency from here on out. They finished dinner with lighter conversation, deliberately shifting away from Marcus and his manipulations. Logan told her funny stories from the road, and Chloe shared embarrassing moments from her early days at the gallery. By the time dessert arrived, they were both laughing. The tension from earlier completely dissolved. Come back to my place, Logan said as they walked to his car, their fingers intertwined. Not for anything except spending more time together. I want to show you something. Is that a line? It's an honest invitation. He grinned. Though if it were a line, would it be working? Maybe. Guess you'll have to convince me. Logan's place was in the Hollywood Hills, a modern house with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. It was more tasteful than Chloe expected, decorated with vintage music memorabilia and actual art rather than the stereotypical Rockstar excess. "I know it's a lot," Logan said, watching her take it in, "but most of this stuff belonged to musicians I admired. That guitar on the wall was played by Jimi Hendrix. The poster is an original from a Zeppelin show in '73. "It's incredible," Chloe breathed, moving closer to examine the collection. "This must have taken years to accumulate. It's my retirement plan. If the music career crashes and burns, I'll sell off the collection and live like a king." He was joking, but there was an undercurrent of real anxiety. "Come on, I want to show you the real reason I brought you here." He led her through the house to a room at the back. When he opened the door, Chloe gasped. The entire space was a music studio, but not the sterile professional kind. This was intimate and personal, with acoustic panels on the walls, multiple guitars on stands, and a piano in the corner covered with sheet music. "This is where I write," Logan said softly. "Nobody comes in here. Not the band, not my manager, nobody. This is my space." Chloe understood the significance of what he was offering. This wasn't just a room. It was a sanctuary, the place where Logan Storm became just Logan, where the armor came off and real creativity happened. "Thank you for showing me," she said, turning to face him. Logan moved closer, his hands settling on her hips. "I want you to know all of me, not just the Rockstar persona, but the actual person underneath." "I think I'm starting to," Chloe whispered, her hands sliding up his chest to rest on his shoulders. "Yeah?" Logan's voice had dropped to that rough, intimate tone that made her shiver. "What do you see?" "Someone talented and driven, someone who protects people he cares about, someone who acts tough but is actually kind of sweet." "Sweet?" Logan made a face. "That's terrible for my image." "Your secret's safe with me." Chloe smiled, then pulled his head down to kiss him. The kiss started gentle but quickly deepened, weeks of tension and want finally finding release. Logan's hands tightened on her hips, pulling her flush against him, and Chloe could feel the evidence of his desire pressed against her stomach. She made a small sound of approval, and Logan groaned in response. "Chloe," he breathed against her lips. "Tell me to stop if you want me to stop." "I don't want you to stop," she admitted. "I want you. Is that too fast?" "It's perfect." Logan kissed her again, deeper, his hands sliding under her shirt to touch bare skin. "But I need you to be sure, because once I have you, I'm not going to want to let you go." "Then don't," Chloe said, and that was all the encouragement Logan needed. He swept her into his arms, carrying her out of the studio and down the hall to his bedroom. The space was surprisingly simple, dominated by a massive bed with dark sheets and more of those floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the glittering city below. Logan set her down gently on the bed, following her down to bracket her body with his own. "You're so beautiful," he murmured, trailing kisses along her jaw, down her neck. "I've been dreaming about this since the moment I saw you." Chloe arched into his touch, her fingers working at the buttons of his shirt. She wanted to feel his skin, wanted to trace the tattoos that covered his arms and chest. When she finally pushed the fabric off his shoulders, she took a moment to just look at him. Logan Storm was a work of art. His body was lean and muscled, clearly maintained not from vanity, but from the physical demands of performing night after night. The tattoos were even more intricate up close, spanning his chest and shoulders in a complex pattern that told the story of his life in ink. "Like what you see?" Logan asked, but there was vulnerability beneath the cocky tone. "Very much," Chloe assured him, pulling him back down for another kiss. They took their time exploring each other, learning what touches made the other gasp, what kisses drew out moans. Logan was attentive and generous, his focus entirely on Chloe's pleasure. When they finally came together, it felt like something clicking into place, two pieces of a puzzle finding their perfect fit. Afterwards, they lay tangled together, the city lights casting shadows across the ceiling. Logan's fingers traced lazy patterns on Chloe's bare shoulder, and she could feel his heartbeat gradually slowing beneath her palm. "Stay," Logan said quietly. "Stay the night. Wake up with me." "Okay," Chloe agreed, surprising herself with how easy the decision was. She woke the next morning to sunlight streaming through the windows and the smell of coffee. Logan was already up, sitting at the piano in the corner of the bedroom, playing something soft and melodic. He was shirtless, wearing only boxer briefs, his hair messy from sleep and her fingers. "Morning," he said, noticing she was awake. "Hope I didn't disturb you." "Not at all. That's beautiful. What is it?" Logan looked almost shy, an expression she'd never seen on him before. "It's new. Started writing it last night after you fell asleep. It's about you." Chloe sat up, pulling the sheet around her shoulders. "Play it for me?" He did, and the melody was hauntingly beautiful, filled with longing and hope, and something that felt dangerously close to love. When he finished, Chloe had tears in her eyes. "Logan, that's incredible." "It's not finished yet. Needs lyrics, a proper arrangement. But the bones are there." He stood and walked over to the bed, sitting on the edge. "You inspire me, Chloe, in ways I didn't think were possible anymore." She reached for him, pulling him back down beside her. "I don't want to go to work today." "So don't. Play hooky with me. Let me take you somewhere." "Where?" "It's a surprise." 2 hours later, they were on Logan's motorcycle, Chloe's arms wrapped tightly around his waist as they wound up into the hills above Los Angeles. He'd promised her it was safe, that he'd been riding for years, and eventually she relaxed enough to actually enjoy the ride. They ended up at a lookout point that gave a panoramic view of the city below. Logan spread out a blanket he'd brought and unpacked breakfast from a nearby cafe. "This is where I come when I need to think," he explained, handing her a coffee. "When everything gets too loud, too overwhelming, I come up here and remember that Los Angeles is bigger than my problems." They sat in comfortable silence, eating pastries and watching the city wake up below them. It was peaceful in a way that felt almost sacred, and Chloe understood why Logan had brought her here. This was another piece of himself, another layer of trust. "I think I'm falling for you," she said suddenly, the words escaping before she could stop them. Logan turned to look at her, his expression serious. "Yeah? Yeah. It's probably too soon to say that, but it's true. This scares me, because I know how complicated your life is, how many obstacles we're going to face. But I can't seem to stop myself." "Good," Logan said, pulling her close, "because I'm already gone. Fell the moment you called me on my bullshit in that green room, maybe even before that, when I saw you in the crowd and forgot my lyrics." "You didn't forget your lyrics?" "I almost did. Tommy had to cover for me. It's on video somewhere if you don't believe me." Chloe laughed, resting her head on his shoulder. "What are we doing, Logan?" "We're taking a chance," he said simply. "We're seeing where this goes. And yeah, it's going to be complicated. Marcus is going to keep trying to cause problems. The media is going to have opinions. My schedule is insane, but I think you're worth it. I think we're worth it." "I think so too." They stayed on that hill for hours, talking about everything and nothing. Logan told her about the new album Crimson Chaos was working on, about his dreams of eventually producing other artists. Chloe shared her hopes of opening her own gallery, of giving emerging artists a platform they couldn't find elsewhere. When they finally headed back down the mountain, Chloe felt lighter than she had in years. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Whatever Marcus or the media or the universe threw at them, she was ready to face it, because Logan Storm, for all his complications and baggage, felt like home. A week later, Crimson Chaos played another show in Los Angeles, this time at a bigger venue. Chloe stood backstage with an official guest pass, watching Logan command the stage with that same magnetic presence that had captured her attention the first time. But now, when he looked into the crowd, she knew he was looking for her. And when their eyes met, he smiled in a way that was just for her, a private moment in the middle of thousands of people. After the show, as Logan came off stage sweaty and energized, he pulled her into his arms without hesitation. "How was I?" he asked, kissing her thoroughly, despite the dozens of people milling around. "You know exactly how you were," Chloe replied, laughing. "Incredible, as always." "Come on tour with us," Logan said suddenly. "We've got 3 weeks on the road starting next month. Come with me. I know it's a lot to ask, but I don't want to be away from you." Chloe thought about her job, her responsibilities, all the logical reasons to say no. But then she looked at Logan's hopeful face, at the genuine want in his eyes, and realized that sometimes the best choices were the ones that didn't make logical sense. "Okay," she said, "I'll come." Logan's whoop of joy was loud enough to make nearby crew members turn and stare. He picked her up and spun her around, laughing with pure happiness. "You won't regret this," he promised. "I'm going to show you the world. Write songs about you in every city, make you so sick of me that you'll be begging to go home." "Impossible," Chloe said, kissing him. "I could never get sick of you." From across the room, Marcus Webb watched the exchange with narrowed eyes. But for once, Logan didn't care. Let Marcus plot and scheme and spread his poison. It didn't matter anymore, because Chloe Bennett had seen past all of it, had chosen him anyway, and that was worth more than anything Marcus could try to take away. As Logan pulled Chloe toward the green room, already planning their next adventure, he felt something he hadn't experienced in years: hope. Real, genuine hope for a future that included more than just music and empty hotel rooms. He'd spent years building walls, protecting himself from the kind of pain that came with letting people in. But Chloe had walked through those walls like they were made of paper, had seen the real him, and decided he was worth the risk. And for the first time in his life, Logan Storm believed he might actually deserve the happiness reaching for him. He was going to fight for it, protect it, nurture it until it grew into something unbreakable. Because some things were worth fighting for, and Chloe Bennett was worth fighting for with everything he had. The story was just beginning, and Logan couldn't wait to see how it unfolded. So there you have it. Logan Storm, the rock star who had everything except the one thing that mattered, finally found someone who saw through the fame and the tattoos and the reputation to the man underneath. Chloe Bennett took a chance on someone the world told her was dangerous, and discovered that sometimes the best love stories are the ones that don't follow the rules. But let me ask you something. Do you think Chloe made the right choice? Would you have given Logan a second chance after Marcus showed up spreading doubt and old photographs? Could you trust someone whose past is splashed across tabloids and gossip sites? And what about Logan? He chose to be vulnerable, to open up his private world to someone he barely knew. Was that brave or reckless? Would you have invited Chloe into your sanctuary, shown her the parts of yourself you usually keep hidden? Here's the real question, though. When Marcus tried to sabotage their relationship, spreading lies and manipulating situations, Logan chose not to fight back with violence. He chose words and honesty instead. In his position, would you have had that restraint? Or would you have given Marcus exactly what he wanted, a public spectacle that would have confirmed every negative assumption about rock stars and their tempers? Think about the moment at the gallery when Chloe saw that photograph. She could have walked away right then, saved herself the potential heartbreak. But she chose to listen, To demand context, to give Logan the benefit of the doubt, have you ever been in a situation where you had to decide between protecting yourself and taking a risk on someone? What did you choose? Do you regret it? And that final scene when Logan asked Chloe to come on tour with him. That's a huge ask, leaving your job, your routine, your comfortable life to follow someone into uncertainty. Would you do it? Could you do it? What would it take for you to say yes to that kind of adventure? I'm curious what you think. Drop a comment and tell me. Are you Team Logan, believing he's genuinely changed and that Chloe is different? Or are you skeptical, thinking that leopards don't change their spots and that Chloe is setting herself up for heartbreak? Maybe you're somewhere in the middle, hopeful but cautious. Also, let me know what you would have done in Chloe's position. Would you have accepted that drink from Marcus at the beginning, before Logan intervened? Would you have confronted him differently or handled the situation in your own way? And here's something else I want to know. This story is about taking chances on people who might not fit the safe choice, who come with complications and baggage, but also with passion and authenticity. Have you ever taken a chance like that? How did it turn out? Your perspective matters to me. Every comment, every story you share helps me understand what resonates with you and what kinds of journeys you want to experience through these narratives. So don't hold back. Tell me what you really think. Was this story satisfying? Did the ending feel earned? What would you have changed? And if you enjoyed this journey with Logan and Chloe, if their story made you feel something, do me a favor. Help this channel reach more people who love complex romance and characters who feel real. We're working toward 500 subscribers, and your support gets us there. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you don't miss future stories, and share this with someone who appreciates a good Rockstar romance. Also, I'd love to know where you're listening from. Are you discovering these stories in your morning commute? During a workout? Late at night when you can't sleep? Drop a comment telling me where in the world you are and when you tune in. It helps me understand my audience and create content that fits your life. Remember, every great story starts with someone taking a chance. Logan took a chance on being honest. Chloe took a chance on believing him. Now, I'm taking a chance that you'll engage with this content, share your thoughts, and help build a community of people who love stories that dig deep into human connection. So what do you say? Are you ready to take that chance with me? Subscribe, comment, engage. Let's build something amazing together. Because just like Logan and Chloe discovered, the best things in life are the ones that require a leap of faith. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, keep taking chances on people who make your heart race, even when your head says to be careful. Sometimes the most beautiful things come from the most unexpected places. Thanks for listening. Now go hit that subscribe button and tell me what you think in the comments below.